1940s, in Delano, California, as in most American towns, people lived segregated lives. Even at the local movie house, where whites sat in the middle and everyone else sat on the sides. Then one day, things changed.
In 1946, there was a young guy by the name of Sisi. He was a Pachuco, he was a zoo tutor, who went off to the Navy, came back, put on his civvies, and went to the movies. And since he was serving his country, he felt that he had a right to sit wherever he wanted, so he came and sat in the middle. He wouldn't move, so the police arrested him. There was no law that said you couldn't sit in the middle, so they couldn't charge him with anything, not even disturbing the peace. He was pretty peaceful. So they grilled him for a couple hours and then released him. And everybody noticed. They said, hey, CC got away with it. He was sat in the middle. So the following week, everybody sat in the middle section. And the town movie house was desegregated. And that happened across the entire valley. Some 20 years later, when I told my mom I was going back to Delano to work with the union, she says, oh, you're going to work with Sisi. And I said, Sisi? Is that Vato still around? And she says, mijo, don't you know who Sisi is? He's Cesar Chavez.
In the 1960s, Cesar Chavez would become the most significant Mexican-American leader of his generation. He would join forces with Dolores Huerta to champion the human rights of some of America's poorest workers.
The workers were literally like slaves. The living conditions were horrendous, and the children were barefoot. And I thought, well, this is so wrong.
Their success would ignite a movement challenging a long history of prejudice and injustice. In East Los Angeles, a high school teacher led the largest student walkout in history, risking his own freedom to give Mexican-American students a chance at a quality education.
It was a risk, it was a gamble, but the gamble that had to be taken. We're trying to make schools better, trying to make the country better.
In Crystal City, Texas, a graduate student founded a political party, transforming centuries of oppression into ethnic power.
Reckless, yes. Dangerous, extremely. Did it pay off? Damn right.
And in San Antonio, a young activist brought millions of Mexican Americans who had never voted to the polls, eventually doubling the number of Latinos elected to political office.
Because of his will, his sheer will, we became a part of the American system.
During the 1960s and 70s, a whole generation of Mexican Americans discovered a new sense of pride as they fought for equality and challenged America to accept them on their own terms.